I got pregnant in college when I was 19. Her father was in the same position, or before doing the deed. I told him I would keep the baby if anything were to happen. He said he understood. He refused any contact with my baby or responsibility when I got pregnant. He took things further by telling my friends and his family that I planned the pregnancy to trap him so they wouldn't judge his actions. This was untrue. He paid mandatory child support, but it wasn't much. It was hard. But I love my daughter, Teen, and wouldn't change a thing. She's wonderful and smart, and she's my whole world. He contacted me on Facebook, saying he wants to be in his daughter's life. He's married now. I did some stalking online. His wife has frequently posted about her infertility struggle. Accessors. I was against it because he's had no part in her life. I had to drop out of college, work 2 jobs, endure the sleepless nights as a baby, and raise her. It was me that kept her belly full and kept her warm, and he couldn't care less. I endured my friends turning against me and his family's harassment and the judgment of society for being a young mom. And now that he wouldn't be sacrificing his young years, he's finished partying, he's got his degree and job, and his wife can't give him kids to complete his picket fence life. He wants the kid I raised for him, knowing he doesn't have to do any work other than pick her up occasionally. I told him my thoughts, and he got mad saying that I chose to have a baby, not him, which tipped things over for me. And I asked him to prove he thought about her, i.e. a college fund he's paid into for a while, with her in mind, or car money. He did not, proving he only cared when he couldn't make more kids. I spoke to my daughter, but I told her the type of person her father is. I told her he has nothing for her, and I was honest about his wife being infertile, so he's reaching out. I told her everything. I told her to think about it, and I said I'd support her knowing him, but I affirmed he's not a nice person, and his intentions are not where we would want. She chose to not know him. After I informed him, he got mad. He said I ruined his chance to know her, that I'm denying her a father. I told him he was the one that did that. My mother told me I shouldn't have poisoned his image of him for her, that she probably feels rejected all over again, and she's probably hurting. I now feel like I've done wrong by her. Am I the idiot? That if it wasn't for this infertile wife and lack of college funds or car money showing evidence he had at least thought about her, then I probably wouldn't have said anything to her about what he's like. But to me, those were red flags. It's not poison if it's true. You're not the idiot. You're protecting your daughter from a potentially traumatizing and harmful situation. It is one thing for him to give up parental rights and for it to remain that way, but he treats her like she's some sort of trend of the month. This will happen when he realizes she's a complex, multi-layered human with many thoughts and feelings, and likely many negative feelings towards him. I wouldn't trust him with properly taking care of an animal, let alone a child. As a guy who was raised by a single mother, and with a deadbeat father who was never around. Keep up the good work. It's hard enough being a parent, let alone in that situation. I would say one thing though. Try not to let your feelings about him cloud your judgment too much. There is a small part of me that wishes I could have met him before he died, if only to see for myself who he was. And that part of me will never forgive my mom for denying me that. Your daughter may never get to that point, but for her sake and the sake of your relationship with her, don't stand in the way if she changes her mind and wants to get to know him. He may break her heart, but at least she can find out for herself. I mean, can you callously abandon your child and claim to be even mildly decent? People can change, yes, but I think the reason that Op didn't believe her ex could change was due to the lack of evidence that he actually cared about his daughter now. She's a consolation prize now, and if his wife gets pregnant, Pete's daughter will return to the burner. Yeah, is it worth causing the daughter all the pain that could come from this? She's a teen now, and he hasn't shown he cared for her whole life. I suspect they might be looking into adoption, and adoption agencies would not be impressed with a man who has one child, but hasn't invested any time or interest in her upbringing. Putting on the other hand, he and his wife might think it could boost their chances to put on an active Parents of the Year. He selfishly only wants to be the fun dad when it's convenient for him. This dude and his wife are disgusting. My sister-in-law has kids a few years older than mine, and she was kind enough to keep some of their clothes aside to hand down. So we've graciously taken a lot of clothing over the years. Some of them end up as rags, some of them have been donated, etc. Well, this past month, she handed off a big bag of clothes for the summer. We sorted through the clothes, but they were unfortunately some clothes that I don't really encourage my kids to wear. To be clear, the thing that I don't encourage is clothes advertising something, a brand, media, etc. My kids understand this and know that the rule is that I will not buy them any of that crap. If they want to use their own money, Retribution money just so they can parade around advertising someone's brand for them, I don't stop them. And yes, their father and I modeled this behavior as well. My husband donates his company-branded fleeces as soon as he gets them. Anyway, when my sister-in-law saw the donation pile had many of her offerings, she got mad. She told me that it directly insulted her and her generosity. I told her that the clothes will still get used by someone. She told me I was being draconian and snobby, and that my kids are afraid to express who they are inside. I admit that when she said this, I did laugh because my son is one of those kids who goes to school with nail polish and does stuff like slam poetry and chalk drawing clubs. Well, that's the issue. Am I the idiot for donating some of the clothes for my sister-in-law all these years? Oh, and just to be clear, for clothing donations, we actually donate directly to a church in our neighborhood that does clothing drives. I think that's worth noting because places like Goodwill and the Ark have been marking up prices due to thrift resellers. You are the idiot. Why take clothes if you're going to just give them away? Why not just say, thank you for the clothes, but I think these should go to someone else. Also, your reason for your kids not wearing them makes absolutely no sense to me. Stop using your kids to express your worldviews. Their aunt was generous and they probably would have enjoyed the clothes. Not only was it ungracious and rude to sister-in-law, but it's excessively punitive to your own kids to enforce this policy, even on items you haven't purchased. Also, she may have other people she can offer the items to or want to donate them to her organization or church. Having your same. I'm always shocked when I give someone something because they've expressed a wish to try it, usually a small appliance, and I ask them how they like it later and find they've given it away. I've usually given them the appliance because I rarely use it and think it would be better used by the person who expressed an interest in it. But to find that they've given it away without asking me if I want it back is so odd and rude. I'm in a tough situation with my not identical twin brother, and I'm not sure if I was wrong. For context, my twin 19 male and I, 19 male, have always been physically different. I've always been more into fitness and caring for my body, while my twin has struggled with obesity for most of his life. Recently, I've been posting pictures on my Instagram wearing nice suits and tight pants and showing off my body. My twin has become increasingly jealous of this and has made several comments about it to me in private. The other day, we had a family gathering and my twin blew up at me in front of everyone. He accused me of rubbing my body in his face and being insensitive to his struggles with weight. I was taken aback and tried to explain that I wasn't trying to hurt him, but he kept getting increasingly upset. Finally, at severe prance, I snapped and told him that he should stop eating so much and stop being lazy if he wanted to have a better body like mine. Now I feel terrible about what I said. I know my twin has a lot of issues with his weight, and it wasn't fair of me to say those things. But at the same time, I feel like he's being unreasonable in his jealousy, and I don't know how to handle the situation. He kept complaining about his weight, so when I snapped, I felt like I needed to tell him the truth straight up, so he could stop projecting his insecurities onto me. However, my mother was very upset with me and cried after the family gathering to tell me how horrible I was for shaming my brother publicly. My family's also blowing up my phone with messages saying I should apologize to my brother, because he keeps telling everyone how upset he is. So, am I the idiot for what I said? Not the idiot. What the shit if you can't take it? He shouldn't blow up at you assuming you won't snap back at him. You've no obligation to be sensitive towards someone who lashes out at you out of jealousy. While non-identical twins are genetically just siblings and therefore can have very diverse traits, it is, in the case of obesity, pretty much entirely down to lifestyle. I'm sorry, you all blame genetics. There's no magical metabolism that makes you 150 kilograms and your brother 50 kilograms. And metabolism is a minor factor in the equation. Obviously, your brother doesn't feel right about his weight, and in any other case being mean to him would be unacceptable. But he went for you and you clawed back. That's on him. This, 100 Your mother cried and said you were wrong for shaming your twin. He was shaming you. So where were those tears? He started this whole thing and escalated it by blowing up in a public setting around other people. Yes, one may say that you should have had the composure and not said anything because two wrongs don't make a right. But realistically, only a saint would keep quiet in a situation like that. I know I would have blown it had someone done that to me. You're not in the wrong. But your brother is. Everyone's the idiot. Both of you weren't kind and lashed out, but your parents suck for not seeking help for your brother sooner. The two children from the same parents generally eat the same stuff, and only one ends up obese. I'd be very concerned for that child's health. Maybe he isn't active because he has a hormonal imbalance making him feel tired. Maybe his metabolism is out of whack, or maybe he suffers from sleep apnea, and that causes all sorts of problems. He should see a doctor and a nutritionist, not because being fat is inherently bad, but because it could be a symptom of something else. If there's nothing wrong with him physically, therapy might help to either find an alternative to food as a coping strategy, accept his body, or both. Apologize for hurting him. Ask him to stop commenting on your body, and you'll not comment on his biwi again. My son, a young teen, complained last week that he shouldn't have to empty the dishwasher because it's women's work. My wife and I don't tolerate that kind of talk, so he's doing my wife and both his sisters' chores, so he knows what women's work entails until further notice. Before we took his phone and gave it to his younger sister, we made him tell the family what he said. You see, my wife's family lives pretty far away, and my side is almost all women. My father's dead. My only siblings are my two sisters, and really the only male members besides my son and I are my sister's husbands. So we made him contact every one of them and explain what he said and why. His cousins have all pretty much disowned him, and my mother called me to say that we aren't welcome at her house, since she assumed incorrectly that we wouldn't go if he's not invited. The cousins have been blowing up my son's phone, calling him every name you can think of. Apparently, one of them even knew one of his friends, and through him, it's costing him most of his friends. My wife thinks I went too far by doing this, and worries this will affect him long term. I think he deserves to lose his relationships, and the people in his life need to know what he said. He'll only learn if the consequences of his actions really hurt, and this was my way of doing that. Am I the idiot for making my son tell the whole family about his nasty comment? Yes, what your son said was wrong, and yes, he deserves some sort of consequence that teaches him that there's no such thing as women's work and men's work. But your family deciding to disown him for this comment is ridiculous. But calling him names is even more idiotic. You're the idiot for allowing your family to continue to bully him. You're not teaching him anything at this point. This happened in your home. You deal with it in your home. That's it. Why do you think the whole family degrading him would be a good idea? You nuked your son's social life because he complained about his chores. His comment was 100 wrong, but the punishment seems over the top. Also, for such a women's defender, why are you not listening to your wife? Yep, the dude is a young teen. He will say a boatload of stupid stuff for a while. But what is concerning is that despite being surrounded by female relatives, whom I suppose he loves, he still manages to find it in his heart to be misogynistic. Apparently, he wasn't raised that way. So what is he exposed to? How to undo this misogynistic brainwashing? I agree. Isolating him from family and friends will probably drive him further into the angry monsters on the internet. It will end up with the opposite results you're attempting to get. His comment and attitude were unacceptable and needed to be addressed with consequences, but you took it way too far. As a parent, you must allow him room to recover from mistakes. He's pretty young still. It doesn't sound like you actually like your son. My 22-year-old female boyfriend came to our family party yesterday. We are your stereotypical large Irish family that does enjoy drinking when we get together. Nobody gets sloshed, but people are anticipating a pretty good time when we all get together. My boyfriend's family is almost the opposite. There's rarely alcohol at his family events. And if there is, it's usually like a glass of wine that someone may have, and that's it. It doesn't matter to me. I can have fun drinking or not drinking. I was with my boyfriend after the party, and he was on his phone with his mom in front of me. She must have asked him about the party because he was describing it. But the things he was saying really embarrassed me, and I thought it made us look like heavy drinkers. Some quotes were, "Yeah, Mom, it was wild, like 10 minutes after we got back from church," or "Here comes Aunt Susie with a tray of shots for everyone." I was asked by 3 different cousins to shotgun a drink. It literally felt like I was at a college party, but with intoxicated old people and little kids running around. He was laughing it off and hung up the phone from his mom. I'm unsure if he knew that I heard the convo, but I just told him how bad that it made me feel. I told him he painted my whole family as alcoholics, and now his parents probably think less of me. He assured me that's not the case, and his parents aren't judgmental. I have met them, and while they're nice, I'm sure they'll gossip about this. I still think he was wrong. I told him that I wanted an apology, and I wanted to hear him call his mom back and tell her that he was exaggerating and that it wasn't true, even though what he said was true about the shots and the beer. Am I the idiot for wanting an apology for my boyfriend, and more after he made my family seem like heavy drinkers to his parents? You are the idiot. He wasn't saying it in a judgmental tone, and what he said was 100% true. Calling his mom to then call himself a liar would just be bizarre and unnecessary, and would make him look extremely weird. If people are doing the stuff he told, that is pretty intense for a family party. Y'all kind of are a bunch of drunks, and that's okay, but don't try to pretend otherwise. A screening questionnaire for problem drinking includes, have people annoyed you by criticizing your drinking? I think you ticked that one off easily. My in-laws are similar to your family. The only difference being that they're not ashamed of it. They love a big family get-together with a load of drinks and games and dancing, and everyone has a blast. Maybe ask yourself if you're projecting your own feelings towards your family. You said yourself that what he described actually happened. The way your feelings are valid, so are his. That's what it felt like to him, but it seems like he was describing this in a more jovial sense. At the same time, you're the one that appears to be passing harsher judgment on your family. Be proud of your family and stop trying to get your boyfriend to lie to his family. Update. Thank you to everyone who gave thoughtful insight and didn't come at me with a holier-than-thou attitude like you've never been drunk before. My defensiveness comes from not understanding that others may do things differently. I must respect the opinions of others, but at the same